Hey everyone, welcome to Phoenix Kitchen. Today we're going to make these beautiful beef ribs flavored with our favorite Chinese orange beef. I'm your host Stacy Williams and I'm going to show you how to do it. Here we go.
Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be cooking some beef ribs. Now these are just beef back ribs. As you can tell, they're very small. They're not the beef dino ribs that I would prefer to have, but the butcher was out and I was still in the mood for some beef ribs. Since these are not the dino ribs and I can't slow smoke them into huge, thick, juicy pieces of rib meat, we're going to work it a little different today. So my thought is, how can I season these so that I'm not disappointed that I'm having back ribs? I'm still going to smoke them. They're still going to be great from that standpoint. But what can I do with them to make them different? Well, today I'm going to go with one of my standby favorites at the Chinese restaurant, orange beef. I'm going to season these up as if they were orange beef. We're going to smoke them up, serve them with some stir-fried vegetables, and I think it's going to be amazing. So let's see how we do this. First of all, for my binder, I'm going to use a quick combination of oyster sauce, and this is a little thicker, so we'll put it and just kind of rub it around everywhere. And this is really just going to be to help hold the seasoning on. And I'm going to add to it, just for fun, a little bit of sesame oil. We'll get that all rubbed in nicely, flip it over and do the same. Now these will go into our orange glaze later, so these flavors are not going to do anything crazy to the beef. These are flavors that are going to be glazed on as we cook it anyway. So we'll go ahead and put these on. And our two main spices that we're going to use, and it's odd that we say two because one is 5-spice powder. So there's technically 5 powders in here. If you're not familiar with Chinese 5-spice, it's going to be anise, fennel, cinnamon, cloves, and black pepper. So we're going to go ahead and just give these a nice healthy shake. Never really afraid of over seasoning when we're smoking something, because so much of this is going to end up, as the fat renders and melts, it's going to drip down into the bottom of the smoker anyway. You want to have enough that some will soak in and stay attached to the meat and give us the flavor profile we're looking for. All right. Now, with these beef ribs, in all honesty, there's not a lot of point in seasoning the back because there's a lot of fat back there, and it's just going to melt away anyway and drip through. We're going to leave it right here on the top. The other thing, in addition to those 5-spice, because we are making orange chicken, we're going to hit it with some orange peel just to get that zest flavor coming in. And then when we make our glaze later, we're going to be using a combination of orange flavored moonshine and some Chinese wine to cook down, along with the oyster sauce and a little salt, pepper, and your normal things there for your sauces. We'll get those ready to go, and we'll be brushing that on, the last 20 minutes or so. We'll keep mopping it on, letting it crystallize, mop it on, let it crystallize, and probably serve just a little on the side. All right, I'm going to let these sit for about 15 minutes, let everything kind of sink in, and then these suckers are going on the grill.
All right, so we had the fire going. We've got these on the smoker. They've been on for a couple hours now. Giving them a quick spritz just to make sure that they stay nice, moist, and delicious. Don't want it drying out while we're cooking. All right, so while the ribs are still on the smoker and they're getting nice and happy, we're gonna go ahead and get this glaze ready. It's a fairly simple glaze. We're going to be using our orange moonshine. You could use orange juice if you want it. We're going to use just some white granulated sugar to melt in there. Our recipe calls for the Shoaxing wine, which is a Chinese rice wine. Wasn't available locally, but a good substitute for that is Mirin. So we're using the Mirin, and of course the oyster sauce. We'll add a couple of Star Anise, a little garlic, a little soy sauce, a little sesame oil, a little bit of the 5-spice powder. Then we're going to put this over the heat, and we're going to go ahead and just stir and blend everything up. Let it come up to melt everything. We'll be in great shape at that point, and then we're just going to go out and mop this onto the ribs about once every 15 to 20 minutes for the last hour of the cook. We want to put it on, let it caramelize, put on a little more, let it caramelize. We're going to build it up in layers so that that flavor is there. We really need that nice strong flavor, and a lot of it, because we're trying to stand up to the power of beef. So you're always going to need a little more oomph when you're going against the beef. Alright, so we've got our glaze ready. Let's go out and check on these ribs. They've been running for about 3 hours now. And as we look in on them, I think they're looking pretty good. We're going to get these things readjusted on the grill because those bone marrows that we're working on, those were coming off. We get nice and centered up. Now we're just going to take this glaze and we're going to mop it on. Even though I'm using a brush, we're still using a mopping technique. We don't want to brush because we do not want to wipe off any of the bark or the seasoning. Right, we don't want to break that loose. We just want this glaze to go right on top, sit there. We're going to close this thing back up, let it set for 15 to 20 minutes so that can crystallize. We'll come out and repeat, and we'll do this until our ribs are finished, which would be right around the 4-hour mark. Now, as we get ready to pull the ribs here in a few minutes, one thing that we're going to need in order to garnish is going to be green onions, right? Our scallions. Very rarely do you see a Chinese beef dish without green onions. And we're going to go ahead and just get those nice and sliced up and diced up and ready to go so that when we bring them in, we'll be able to use that and a little flake salt for the garnish. Alright, and here we have our beautiful ribs, fresh off the smoker. They've been allowed to rest for a little while, and now we're ready to cut into these. You can see they're nicely rendered. It's got a beautiful glaze to it. They are 100% ready to go. Now, one thing as we go to cut these, anytime you're cutting ribs, you have to deal with a little curvature of the bone, and one of the easiest ways to be able to see what you're doing is to actually flip it over and cut it from the back side so you can see how these things angle. So we're just going to go right down between the bones, and keep in mind that the beef ribs, they usually have that little V at the bottom, which means it's going to flare out and you end up having to do just a little twist with your knife to get through it. But there we go. We cut those open. You can see the beautiful smoke ring. You squeeze on it and it's nice and juicy. That fat's rendered down. The fat's not just oozing out when we cut it, because we did allow them to rest so that the juices go back into the meat where it belongs, so every bite is juicy instead of your cutting board being wet. But as we squeeze, look at that. Juices are running. Those things are absolutely delicious. They're well rendered and they are ready to go. So we're going to get these cut the rest of the way up and go ahead and get it plated up with some stir-fry vegetables. All right, and here we go. Beautiful plate. Got a few fries, just because why not? And our stir-fried vegetables. We're going to go ahead and hit these ribs and veggies with just a little bit of flake finishing salt. That really helps to bring out the flavor as that flake melts in your mouth, on your tongue. And obviously go ahead and hit them with our scallions. And we're going to end up with quite the beautiful plate. Our little Chinese fusion barbecue. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely delicious. I hope that you guys will give this recipe a try. It is absolutely amazing. See you next time. We're giving away a 5-piece cast iron lodge cookware set when we hit 1,000 subscribers. All you have to do is like a video and subscribe to the channel to be entered in the giveaway.